We can celebrate pain not because pain is good, but because we can pray with it and break bread together. Difficult moments can be lifted up. We lift them up in gratitude. Celebration is really an expression of gratitude. Death does not have the final word. Even agony, pain, struggles, war, all of that is somehow not the final power. God is a God of the living. Christ said, "You shall have life and life abundantly."
So welcome to the Grace from the Wilderness podcast. I'm Melon, and that's my co-host, Wrong Way, sitting over there.
How are you doing today, Melon?
I'm doing great, Wrong Way.
I feel like I've had a lot of wrong way moments lately.
True to form, right?
Yeah. Well, more than normal, though.
Wow. So this is going to be a long. Listen up, folks. This is going to be a long version because he's about to share all the ways that he went wrong this time. So
it'll take us through Thanksgiving and through Christmas. It's a New Year's resolution here.
So do you want to hit me with a joke? I mean, you just made a very piss poor joke just a minute ago about me. So you want to try again?
Public now? I just find it interesting that you do need grace, and I find that you are one in need of grace, because you wanted to talk about in the kitchen a while ago that you were somewhat ambidextrous, and that if you're a left-handed person, that you're special. But you're kind of halfway ambidextrous, so you're like, does that mean I'm halfway special? And I'm like, no, you're all the way special. But you're not lefty. You're not a left-handed person.
Well, you just made my day. You just made me so appreciative. And I was thinking today, since this is the celebration of Thanksgiving, this is our Thanksgiving episode, right?
Oh, my bad. I should be thankful for you.
Well, that's where I'm going. I have determined just to celebrate this Thanksgiving episode that I'm not going to make fun of you Wrong Way. Instead, Today I want to give thanks. And here's how I want to give thanks. I want to thank God that I'm not an Auburn fan. I want to thank God that I don't have trouble. I'm not directionally challenged. I want to thank God that I don't have a receding hairline issue.
Wow.
I want to thank God that I don't have a pain cave. I want to thank God that especially that I don't think all songs are recorded by Bob Seger for some strange reason.
Man, I mean, I just had one. You just came out like with a plethora of them. Well, I'm thankful that you can actually get past one. So.
Plethora. He's been studying, folks.
It's Babel. He's Babel.
Hooked on phonics worked for him.
Not really. So funny.
So spell it.
I can't. Phonics or Babel?
Spell it.
Which one?
IT. Man, I'm telling you. You see what I have to work with, folks? I mean, come on.
Well, here's a little unknown fact, but it is known. It is true I'm directionally challenged on the road and in a vehicle. However, if you put me on water and in a boat, I am not directional. I can get. You can ask my wife. I can get anywhere on the water. We can go way down, way down, way down. I'll know where to turn. I don't get lost on the water. But in a car and on a road, I can't get through a Cheerio. So,
I got to be real for a moment. That may very well be true, but I don't think I'm willing to test that theory.
I tell you what, we'll take the boat out tonight, and
How big of a tank of gas do you have?
I've got a pretty big tank. I can go several hours. So,
you've got to be thankful though, Eric, to have a friend like me.
Oh, well, that I am.
I mean, what would you do without all this? And one of the big things I forgot to be thankful for. I'm so thankful that God has given me a friend like Wrong Way over here who makes the jokes just come out just like water, man. It's just not even a challenge. So.
Well, I'm the joke. That's what I'm here for. I'm just the joke of the duo. So But I mean, it's all good. It's all good. So glad to be back here, and really am thankful for that. It's been
Seems like a minute since we recorded last, doesn't it?
Yeah, and then I was talking with you last night, trying to figure out why you can't change this dark early stuff. Just stinks and makes me sad.
Yeah, well,
I mean, it's like
I'm sorry, I'm not God, man.
It's like 3:30. Well, I thought you had a closer tie than I do, or something. I mean,
I told you to move to Arizona. They always have daylight savings
and it's
time.
warm out there too.
Right.
A little breezy today. A little breezy. So,
And you get to see the Grand Canyon. It's in your state, so.
that's not in Arizona.
Oh, really? Do you really think the Grand Canyon is not in Arizona?
It's not in Arizona. Hang on.
Pray
Hang
tell,
on.
what state would it be in, Eric?
Hang on. We're going to do this on live. And by the way, we've picked up 3 new followers in the last week. So I just want to say thank you. Why don't we do this right here?
Thank you, mother, brother, father.
What state is the Grand Canyon? So we're Googling this right now.
Flagstaff, Arizona.
You won't believe this. That thing is located in Arizona.
So, I mean, now, folks, he's the one that edits this. So I will not be shocked if this is not completely and totally edited out. I mean, this is not scripted. I could not have scripted this. This is real.
I did not think that was in Arizona. See, I told you I'm directionally challenged.
So let me just ask, what state did you think it was in?
I thought that was like in Montana or something.
Montana.
Was it close?
You're only like 1,000 miles off. Montana. Oh, wow.
We would have gotten there one way or the other on a road trip.
And you want me to go on a boat with you tonight? I mean,
Told you the water, I'm fine. There's no water in Arizona.
well, let me give you another little surprise. At the bottom of the Grand Canyon, there's literally a river called the Colorado River that runs right through it.
See, that's in Colorado. So why is the Grand Canyon not in Colorado?
So let me give you just a little bit of hint. Rivers are no respecter of states.
Look, the Mississippi River is in Mississippi, right?
Yes,
Okay.
It's also in Louisiana, Missouri. It goes all the way up to Minnesota, dude.
No way. That does not.
Do you not believe this?
Hang on. I gotta Google this.
If there are any geography teachers, just regular, anybody that needs a special, you called me special?
Hang on. Where does the Mississippi River end?
That's going to say
here.
New Orleans.
Well, it says Gulf of Mexico.
Yeah, exactly. New Orleans.
No, well, I meant like how far up. Well, here we go. I got a map. Here we go.
That wouldn't be where
You said it ended where?
It's up in Minnesota, man.
Well, daggum if you ain't right.
Hey, shocker.
See, this is why Melon has a big head around me. He thinks he's smart, and I just add to it.
So, it reminds me of the
Hang on, is
song.
that scary that I might teach, I teach on Sundays or something at church?
Do you?
I could be scared leading the congregation there.
I got to tell you, folks, I'm going to save our printout for this episode. And just because somebody's going to look at this and say, hey, you scripted this whole thing. Y'all made this. I mean,
Nope.
this is a whole Saturday Night Live episode.
No. Actually, we should be discussing a question right now that we haven't even gotten to.
For your benefit, it might be best if we just do that.
Oh, gosh. Well, I tell you what, while we're laughing.
Another thing I need to give thanks for that I don't have the inability to read a mouth.
I never said I could. I'm not sure the last time I've looked at a map. I just listen to Siri tell me where to turn. Even then, I can mess that up.
Oh, gosh.
Wow.
You made a plethora of mistakes there.
You can't even spell plethora.
Plethora. Whoa.
See, there's his big head. He's been studying for that for about a week.
It's right here on the script. Spell plethora.
No, it is not.
And preceding that is spell it. So enough fun. On to the serious part.
Ooh.
You know, you're supposed to be leading this. So
Yeah.
Can you pull yourself out of the ditch?
Let me get back. Let me get this train back on track, so we can get back to Minnesota.
Minnesota.
Well, but in all seriousness, talking and just laughing, it does remind us of, growing up. Whether no matter where you are, Minnesota, Arizona, Grand Canyon, whatever, wherever it's at,
The Everglades. What state's the Everglades in?
Anyways, we're going to continue on. I'll look that up later. I'll get back with you. I'll circle back for Advent. So we do remember memories. We do have good memories of Thanksgiving for a lot of people, and so we kind of want to talk about what are some favorite memories or traditions that we had growing up for Thanksgiving. And so, what were yours besides getting lost on the Mississippi River? So,
well, believe it or not, I'm from the great state of Mississippi and live nowhere near the Mississippi River.
Can we just? And I don't want to bring football into this.
Okay.
But can we just say kudos for Ole Miss beating Georgia? That was impressive.
Well, it was a couple of weeks ago that you were rooting for them.
For who?
For Georgia. Being an Auburn fan.
Oh, that was a couple of weeks ago. That's
okay.
The game's over. That game was over. I was pulling for Ole Miss on that one. So Ole Miss and Georgia.
Thanksgiving traditions. So funny that you mentioned football. So my state, the Egg Bowl, Ole Miss, Mississippi State.
Can we just stop right there? Can we just stop? Who in the world names a rivalry bowl game the Egg Bowl?
I don't remember the history.
To
be honest, see, I can admit when I don't know something.
But I'm just saying that's my point. That's why nobody wants to be from Mississippi, and they're thankful. I'm thankful that I'm not from Mississippi, because what's your bowl game between your college teams? Oh, it's the Egg Bowl. At least Auburn, Alabama, it's the Iron Bowl. There's like some grit, there's some teeth, there's some,
Okay, well,
but.
So you got me there,
the Egg Bowl.
The name of the biggest rivalry in the state is definitely better for Alabama.
It is.
But at least we learned geography and a little bit of our maps. And
I don't know about that.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't know about
that. Funny you mentioned football. So the Egg Bowl was traditionally. So I remember some years that it was actually on Thanksgiving Day.
Yeah.
But some years it was the Saturday after, and I know like the Iron Bowl now is like the Saturday after, and I think the NFL's kind of messed that up, taking all the Thanksgiving Day stuff. But one of my favorite things, and I've told y'all before, that I'm a mama's boy.
Yeah, we all know that. We can tell.
Yeah, I know, right? Well. I remember it even to this day. My kids and my mom's been gone for about 3 years now, but my kids will even laugh and joke about about what my mom would do on Thanksgiving. So she would make us, before we could eat, we all had to say something that we were thankful for.
Just one thing. Okay.
That's why I was so good at it just a minute ago.
That was 1 times like 12. So kept going.
So I remember a lot of those Thanksgivings. You get up and you watch Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, later on in life when I actually moved to the Metro New York area, I got to go to Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. And let me tell you, it's a whole lot better to watch it from home.
It's kind of like sometimes Mardi Gras. People go and they're like, yeah, better to just not participate that in person.
And there's a lot of things, sometimes it's better to be there, and it's a whole lot better to, just kind of watch it at home, and you can get up and eat what you want. And the big thing was that Macy's,
stay warm.
Well, stay warm, that was one thing, and the other thing was that at the shop owners and people around the area there were pretty guarded over access to their restrooms. So if you need to go to the restroom, you might be in trouble. So I love that tradition with my mom, and even today we bought a big turkey. It's one of those colored glass deep three wick candles, and it's a turkey, and we light it and just to remember my mom. We even have it out during all year long, just to remember and be thankful for her and what she did for me and my family and my cousins and brothers and everything else. So yeah, that's a good one. How about you?
Well, I want to. You talking about cold? I'm going to get to my favorite, but so there was one year. My wife and I, we were at Mardi Gras. I mean, maybe 2 years ago, 3 years ago now. But
what state were you in?
I was in Louisiana.
Yes,
and specifically New Orleans. I knew where I was at.
Did you know where Mardi Gras actually began, though?
Mobile.
Yes.
See. I'm up to some things. But I remember this one Mardi Gras. It was really cold. I mean, really, really cold. And so I think it was like a Friday night. We had to go to the bathroom. And to your point, in Mardi Gras, I mean, if you're not a customer, you can't go to the bathroom. Well, across the street was the Smoothie King, and I was like, ooh, I'll just go get a smoothie and then go to the bathroom or whatever. And in proper form, my wife knows that when I drink a smoothie, I get cold. This makes me cold. And she said, yeah, I don't think that's the best idea because you're going to get cold and you're not going to want to come back out and stay. And we're already freezing cold. And I was like, no, I'll be fine. So I order my smoothie, go to the bathroom. We start drinking the smoothie, or I start drinking. She didn't order one. I started drinking it, and about 5 minutes in, I'm like, I'm cold. To the point where I couldn't stop shaking, and then we had to leave early and had an unhappy wife. So, note to self, don't drink a smoothie when it's like literally 30 degrees outside. So,
I don't think I'd have told that story.
Well, she will, so. It's just part of my wrong way. It's part of my wrong way.
You make fun of me for being a mama's boy after telling that story.
It's part of my wrong way life. I just make sometimes wrong decisions. Even being told don't do, I still do.
I was wondering about something. Do you think wrongway.com is registered?
I don't know. I'll find out. It probably is. Probably by the government. It was some Department of Education.
Our 3 listeners are now Googling it.
Can I just say?
Going in registered. They're going to sell it to
we
you
have
soon.
6 listeners, by the way. But randomly, the podcast studio that we're in, somebody just slid a note under our door. I don't know if it's like, get out of here, it's on fire, or
I think it says, hey, we want make more fun of Eric stuff.
But I think one of my favorite memories was on my dad's side, my granny. A lot of times we would go to my uncle's house, my dad's brother, and my aunt's house, and it was a big family gathering. So aunts, uncles, cousins, and it was just a big gathering. And we would always do that, and then it was just that thing, and again, it's the older generation kept everything together.
Yeah.
Because when she passed, that stopped.
Mm-hmm.
and but I think that's why it's so fond, because it did stop. You just really hold on to those memories, but a lot of laughter. Just you got to see everybody you haven't seen sometimes in a year.
Yeah.
So I mean, people would grow tall and wide sometimes, or I mean, those things. But or as we were getting older, you get cars, and what car do you have now, and those kind of things, or what sports. So that still is one of my favorite memories. I can just kind of close my eyes, and I can almost go back to several different years and memories, whether it was playing basketball outside if it was warm enough, or just being inside around the fireplace, those kind of things. So always, but it was around a table, family, breaking bread together, and truly being thankful for all those things. So
as long as you weren't drinking a smoothie, you had been all right.
That wasn't around back then. It wasn't around. So I'm sure. I'm not even sure there was, mixing gadgets when you were growing up. In the 50s, I don't think that was around yet. So.
The 50s. So he's struggling with math too, folks. So. Where did you graduate high school again?
Oh, well then. So one of the things that we just really do want to remind our listeners, thank you for the 3 that came on last week, is always trying to be thankful, like always remembering even the small things, even sunrises, sunsets, because I know that there are some people listening that maybe Thanksgiving, it triggers a bad memory, or it triggers sorrow. It could be a death. I mean, there could have been a death during that time growing up in the family. But if we can still try to find little hydrangeas, little things to look for, the beauty, the joy, things to be grateful for and thankful for, it does help. I mean, even in that pain and in that suffering. So we do want to remind our listeners just to find the little things to be thankful for.
Yeah, I mean, even, we spent the whole month of November and interviewing to folks and talking about what the wilderness is like. And even, from a theology of the wilderness with Pastor Greg, all the way up until, the last episode, which is talking with Frank about the wilderness of addiction and all those things that we talked about. And, I know it's hard to see those things. It is. At times we're blinded to it. And that's why I think in a lot of ways, Thanksgiving is the antidote to those serious issues that we face at times. The antidote to mental challenges, spiritual challenges, all of those things. So I think it's really good to remember those moments from years past Thanksgiving, and even going forward, what Thanksgiving looks like. So
and I thought I had it with me, but it's in my at the library, but at the house. But
it's in his pain cave.
But I just finished up a Henry Nouwen book called "Following Jesus," and the opening reading actually it came from that book.
Yeah,
but talking about pain and suffering. That book, the latter half, so it's entitled "Following Jesus in an Anxious World," and this was from a lecture during the Lenten season. It was like a 6-day or 6-week series in 1985. So in 1985, almost 40 years ago, Henry Nouwen was talking about living in an anxious world. How much more have we become anxious since then? How much more have we become more fast-paced, busy? So as I'm reading that book, he talks a lot about the suffering. He talks a lot about pain, but he ties that to joy. He ties that to Thanksgiving and gratitude. And so that was one of the reasons I put that in our opening reading, talking about the celebration and gratitude, and even how pain and struggles, agony, that's not the final power. that God is alive, and that God can change those things and bring beauty from the ashes. And so, just really
Yeah.
want to remind the listeners of that.
Yeah. As we were discussing about this episode, how we wanted to, what this to look like and how we wanted to give thanks. And, I said, hey, I think it'd be really cool to like, talk about some Psalms.
Yeah.
And Psalm 50
Uh, you stole
is a
mine.
really good one.
You stole mine. So,
Did I steal yours?
hey, so we did talk about this. However, we didn't share which Psalms. So
No. Well, I've
great,
got
great
like
minds
6
think
of them.
alike. Oh, he's an overachiever. So you go ahead. You did steal mine, one of mine, but
So it's funny, you guys can't see because this is not video, but when he said when he said stole, he just made air quotes by mistake. I don't know what that means, but since you picked it out, Eric, Psalm 50, 14, is that where you were headed? Offer to God a sacrifice of thanksgiving and perform your vows to the Most High, and call upon me in the day of trouble. I will deliver you, and you shall glorify me.
yeah, yeah,
Our whole life is supposed to be about Thanksgiving.
yeah.
And it's not just about, yeah, it's cool to sit around and eat and watch football and be with family. And
Desserts.
yeah. So I hate to ask, but I'm going to ask anyway. What is your favorite dessert Thanksgiving?
Oh, back to memories.
Mhm.
So it's a pumpkin pie with a lot of Cool Whip. But growing up, my mom would always make a pumpkin pie for her and I, and then she would make a pecan pie for my dad. My dad loved pecan pie, and my dad's mom, Granny, made to everybody's. I don't like pecan pie, but to everybody's,
Of course.
but to everybody else, it was like the greatest pecan pie ever. So I love. So for me, it's a pumpkin pie, but it has to have some Cool Whip on it.
Yeah. So
So.
the pecan pie's where it's at, man.
Well, I'm already nutty as it is, and so I don't need more nuts. So,
Amen. But our whole life is supposed to be about Thanksgiving.
yeah,
Because when we stop and think about it, even in the midst of walking through whatever we're walking through, um, we have to be thankful or we're going to go the other way.
yeah, wrong way.
Yeah. We're going to go down the road to despair or to bitterness or to resentment or to anger or whatever that leads to, be getting off the trail completely and
Yeah,
going down a completely, totally different trail. And the only way to combat that is to remember what God has done.
that's right.
To remember even, like you said, the small things. You know, um, you have air to breathe.
That's
You
right.
know, we live in the most prosperous country in the history of mankind, and so many blessings that we have as people, as a country, um, that God has given us, and to be able to live a life that pleases Him, that mimics sacrifice, because we no longer have to sacrifice, right? Jesus
Right.
Christ was the
The ultimate.
ultimate sacrifice. So, yeah.
And speaking of sacrifices, one of my psalms is in regards to Thanksgiving is Psalm 56, verse 12, where it says that I am obligated by vows to you, God. I will make my thank offerings to you. And it's just, again, it's that reminder of I'm making my thanks to you, and I'm obligated to you. Like my covenant is with you, and I'm thankful for that.
No.
And even, that covenant doesn't mean, when we're in a covenant with God, it doesn't mean that everything's hunky dory. And that's, you hop over to Psalm 126, we see that in verse 5, those who sow in tears, so meaning their sorrow, will reap with shouts of joy.
Mm.
Though one goes along weeping, carrying the bag of seed, he will surely come back with shouts of joy, carrying the sheaves.
Yeah.
And so it's that reminder that, yes, we may have that weeping, that sorrow, but we can come back with the shouts of joy
Yeah.
if we have that remembering of what God has done and will do, and being thankful. We can have that joy.
Or even just, excuse me, even just hanging on to the promises of God,
Yeah.
even when we lose sight of the things that He has done for us. And I think that's so key as we're walking through the, I feel like a lot of times when I was walking through my challenging time, that a lot of the issue was mental.
Mm.
It was a mental challenge. It was a mental hurdle to overcome, and being thankful, having a spirit of thankfulness, having a lifestyle of gratefulness, um, takes away any ability to do that, to go to despair, to go to anger, to go to hurt, to woe is me, to wallow, to waller
Waller.
in our sorrow.
So we're going to go off script again.
Imagine that.
I am going to say this script because people may not believe us. I'm really taking this off script, and because you said something.
Raggy.
Wrong way getting off script. That could be bad. But you said something, two things, that when you were going through your wilderness, your dark time, that a lot of it was mental.
Yeah.
And I can testify when I have gone through some really hard times, and in what I would call my wilderness stage, there was a lot of mental. But do you think that that's how the enemy comes in to kill, steal, and destroy, is through our mind, through mental?
Oh, definitely. Definitely. I mean, if I put before you the choice of either having a physical challenge or an ongoing mental challenge, if you really considered it, you would 100% choose the physical challenge.
Yeah, in a heartbeat.
Because the mental never stops.
Yeah.
The physical can be addressed, can move on. The mental thing is is such a great challenge, such a deep challenge, because it's with us 24/7.
But I think that's where it goes back to what Paul was saying, that we have to renew our mind.
Yeah.
That I mean, again, he's reminding us that he knows that it's a mental, like, if we're not renewing, if we're not casting off, putting off negative thoughts, and then filling it back in with positive thoughts, that the enemy, that's the way the enemy will come in and destroy us.
Yes.
I mean, like, destroy us.
And even if you are not in the wilderness and you're sit back, kick back, and relax, and you think everything's going great, you still have mental issues.
Yeah.
You know, we're all insecure at some point.
I was about to say
Whether
that.
that's, you know, you don't like the way you talk. You don't like the way you think. You don't like the way you look. You question your salvation. You question your motives. Whatever it is, we all have those. And the only way to overcome that is through the plan that God put forth. And that was, hey, your life should reflect the sacrifice that Christ made.
Yeah.
And that's the only way to overcome it. And even, at the end of every episode, we always do the blessing. And
we're not there yet. So.
No, we're not there yet. But I want to reference that because another Psalm 67.
Ah.
It starts off with a piece of that blessing. May God be gracious to us and bless us, make His face to shine upon us. And many of you know, if you're a John Piper fan, this is where he gets. Let the nations be glad is verse 4. But you go on at the end of that, it says, the earth has yielded its increase. God, our God, shall bless us. God shall bless us. Let all the ends of the earth fear Him, respect Him, praise Him.
Yeah.
And so we've got this concept of, it goes back to our self-centeredness. And if you're self-centered, you can't be thankful. Yeah.
It's a pride issue.
Yeah.
And one of the things I think, going through First Thessalonians.
Say that again.
First Thessalonians.
Okay. Wow.
I mean, I can say Deuteronomy as well.
But you can't spell plethora.
No, don't ask me to spell Thessalonians
You
either.
figured out what the Everglades is yet?
No, I haven't Googled it yet. We had that bomb threat letter come in. Took me off base. But reading what Paul was writing, it was two things. It was a reminder that we have to have community, the importance of other people in our life, doing life with us, because in chapter 3, verse 9, Paul says, how can we thank God for you in return for all the joy we experience because of you before our God? And so what is Paul's saying, I can't thank God enough for the joy that you people have brought into our life, my life. And so it's that reminder that we can't do this life by ourselves. Well, we can, I guess, but that's where the gratitude, thankfulness goes away, prideful, we become bitter, cynical,
Well, we are social animals.
Yeah.
I mean, we were made in God's image. And let's be real here. God is a social being too.
Right.
I mean, the Trinity.
Yeah.
Genesis 1, let us make man in our image.
Yeah, he was never alone.
Yeah.
And he's never been alone.
And so this should not come as a shock to us. And I think us as guys specifically, we tend to shy away from community at times.
But why do you think we shy away?
Because it's a pride issue.
Yeah.
And it's a trust issue.
Yeah.
For me, for a long time in my life, I had my best friend growing up, and we were tight, and I lost him in my early 40s, and I had a really struggle trusting anybody except for, of course, my spiritual father. And we should talk about him one day. Great man, but I struggled trusting other folks. And part of that was a sin issue. Part of it was, insecurity, pride, all of those things.
Yeah. And I think as we've gotten older, I've gotten older, I'm realizing, well, yeah, I mean, I know you can't tell. I don't have the gray hair. I don't have, any of that. But the more,
by the way, I'm having a great hair day today.
If y'all could see his hair, I will say it's actually Johnny Bravo-ish. And so, if you know, you know. But when we have sin in our life, like we have like knowing sin, like we know we're in the wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's where it's really hard. Like we do push away. We do want to hide. We want to not be in our accountability groups. We don't want to really be meeting with our mentors and our spiritual fathers because it's a shame.
Mm.
But we, at the same time, we're afraid to say, hey, I'm struggling with fill in the blank. Yeah. Right. And I want to, talk about being vulnerable. Some of my closest, mentors and spiritual leaders in my life know that I can suffer with seasonal depression. And so a lot of times come, late January through say March, it can be really hard for me. Some years are better than others. Some years are kind of rough. And one of the things that has hit me already in the last week, really with a time change, is I'm struggling. Mm. And, my wife and I, we were on the front porch a couple of nights ago, and I looked at her and I said, I'm struggling. Mm. Like this time change, like when it comes, about now, 4 or 5 o'clock, when it gets dark.
Yeah.
It's those things I'm not able to maybe walk or go run or go do things around the house, that I normally would do outside. But for whatever reason, this year it's hitting really early. Like I don't normally struggle with it this time of year. But what did I do? I looked at my wife and I just said, "Hey, I'm like, I need you to know, like, I'm struggling with this." And it was enough. Like, I took my pride down and told my wife, who my best friend, it just sucks right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that,
Then you had to come in today and hear me make fun of you.
yeah, well, but it lifted me up, you know?
Of course it does.
It lifted the audience up. So,
By the way, the note that we got under the door was, "Hey, please make more
more jokes.
more jokes. Keep
we,
them coming."
we gained an audience. We gained more followers.
I mean, there's literally people standing outside the door with their ear to the door.
That is
The
true.
little glass thing, little glass
Little hearing thing. So I do want to encourage our listeners that even during this time of year, you could be struggling with depression or sadness. Find someone and that you trust, to your point, but find someone and just say, "Hey, I'm struggling with this," and let them be there for you. Let them check in. Let them know that you have someone to bounce it off of. And I think that's so crucial. For a lot of people, this is a festive, fun, happy time of year. But for a lot, it can be very difficult. So
Yeah, and even I mean, we're sitting here talking about this, and now let's put that situation and make that a guy that's pastor of a church,
hmm,
or maybe he leads a Christian ministry,
yeah,
and there's another layer of barriers to honesty and to transparency. And man, what do you do now?
yeah,
And folks, that's why Grace for the Wilderness exists.
yeah,
We want to, like Eric said, we want to encourage um, everyone, but especially the leaders, to be able to understand that they need community, they need friends, they need to be able to laugh, they need to be able to sit around the fire pit, they need to um, um, be able to be transparent with someone
yeah.
in order to survive this thing.
That's hard.
Yeah.
And I sent you last night. This is from Eugene Peterson, and it's from a newer book. It's a couple of years old now, but it's called "On Living Well," and it's a lot of just snippets from his journals and some unpublished writing. So a lot of it is, after he passed away, some people were able to get a hold of some of these archives and they put them in a book. But anyways, I sent this to you last night, and it's really fitting. It says, "We do not qualify as biblical simply by quoting the Bible. We are biblical only when we share life. So share life in the wilderness with those who are tempted and fall. And when we carry the cross of Jesus and when we love extravagantly in Jesus' name."
Yeah.
And so that again, it's
where the rubber meets the road, right?
yeah.
I mean, and to your point earlier, hey, if you need somebody, hit us up. Info at Grace, the number 4, the wilderness.com. There you go.
And we make it
Hit
right.
us up at wrong way.
Wrong
way.
I gotta look that up too. So
no, that's .org because it's wrong.
Wrong. or wrong way .life. I have to look this up now.
Somebody that's a poet needs to write a poet about wrong way.
So we did. We went off script a lot.
Yeah, you were going the wrong direction until you realized you were wrong.
So. Yeah, but you said something, and that's what this is about. This is for people listening. I mean, we do have scripts, but at the same time, this is just you and I talking.
Yeah,
and also when we have guests in here, we talk, and we don't always follow the script. We let the Spirit lead. But you said something about just the mental thing, and we went down that road. But it is. It does really circle us back to the trailhead, for this this episode in regards to being thankful is, and we do see in the Old Testament having a thankful life. We see this in Psalms and other books in the Old Testament, how being thankful was just really a part of their life. And we see that all throughout. But, come New Testament, and we've talked about this a lot, Jesus kind of shifts the narrative to where it's a personal. Old Testament was you being thankful to God. I read that in Psalm 56. I'm making the thanks offering to God. But Jesus comes in and he makes it a more personal dimension. Like there's a personal aspect to it.
Yeah.
And that's where Paul, we see that in what I was talking about in First Thessalonians. Paul's, what is he doing? He's making a personal touch. He's thanking people that he was around and with. It's that sense of community. And so, my question, our question, is, how can we thank others? How do we do that? I think is a question you have to think about. What does that look like?
Well, can I maybe just, in the simplicity of the jokes and everything that my kids laugh about my mom doing that, maybe it's just intentional.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm going to be thankful today for one thing.
Yeah.
And maybe it is only one thing today. And maybe you have to figure out what that is today.
Yeah. And I know we're going to talk about this in our next episode when we go through Advent, but you and I are kind of mapping out our next season of podcast.
Yeah.
And what you just kind of hit on it is there's a grit.
Yeah.
There's a oomph to it might be one thing, and that you may have to grit that out.
Yeah.
To be thankful for one thing, but write it down, put it somewhere every day. And that's that mindset. It's shifting from negative to positive, but it's just you have to have that grit.
Yeah, we do. I mean, I don't know if gritty is the right word. I think it is. I like that word. Maybe it's the Mississippi in me.
I'm not. I have jokes, but I'm going to save those for later on.
Okay.
I have to keep like a backlog.
No.
So I have to keep like a
look out, folks. Season 2 is going to explode.
I have to keep a running log. So,
but
I have a Google Doc.
But I think the Christian faith is not all kittens and poodles and rainbows and pillows.
Wow, this went downhill fast.
you know what I mean?
It's not all rosy posy.
Right. It's not all laughs and giggles and fun times. That's because we are in the wilderness on a regular basis.
Yeah.
As Pastor Greg Newton said in the earlier episode, the wilderness is life.
Yeah.
And
Jesus was clear. He did not come to give us a life with no problems.
Yeah.
He said, I'll give you peace.
Yeah. And so peace in the middle of the wilderness.
Right. Yeah.
It's not, I'm going to take you out of this.
Yeah.
I'm going to take you out at the end.
Thank the Lord. But I mean, even if we're to follow Jesus, Jesus sacrificed his life. He was the ultimate, as you mentioned earlier, the ultimate Passover. He was the ultimate lamb slain for us. He did not have peace. I mean, he did not have all rose-colored, happy, joyful, happy moments all the time. It was hard.
Yeah.
I'm not even, I mean, sometimes I wonder, was it ever easy for Jesus? I don't know.
It had to be. He experienced the full range of human emotion. So.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm sure there were moments it was happy, but
he was sitting in Jerusalem one day, and he was at the Mount of Olives, and he was thinking, one day I'm going to make this guy named Eric Christian, and he just started laughing.
Think about it. But I was one of the first people he named. Then.
I know, right?
Christian, Eric.
I know,
man.
Right?
See, the
irony.
I was born into the faith.
And that was to show that anybody can make it.
If I can be in the faith, anybody can.
But I mean, really, we have to have this ability to overcome,
Yeah.
and that does not come from within ourselves.
Nope. It comes from God.
Yeah, and the way to get through these things and survive these things is because, well, you talked about the Old Testament understanding of Thanksgiving. So even when you read the Psalms, I think we've discussed this before. Especially David,
Oh,
the
gosh.
Davidic Psalms, he would start with,
Yeah.
"Man, things are bad. God, where are you at, dude? Do you not see what's going on here, man? When are you going to show up?" And at the end, it's, "I'm going to bless God. I'm going to praise God. I'm going to trust God."
Yeah.
He always turned it on his head. And so there was this honesty about him that he didn't hold anything back.
Yeah.
And yet at the same time, he still had that oomph, that grit. And I really admire that in a lot of people that I see. And I think you do as well. And so, yeah.
Well, and I think we talked about um, being in regards like a blaze of hope.
Yeah.
As we've already hit on them, but having gratitude regarding our relationships, so a community, get into a community of people. We've talked about it having a grateful mindset. So it's just,
Yep.
we have to change our mindset. And then as well, we've talked about this. We have to be grateful in everyday life, whether it's just that one thing, whether it's I'm alive,
Mhm.
I'm breathing, I'm walking, I have a job, right? I mean, whatever. I took a shower today. I mean, I used to joke about that when I was doing counseling was, for some people that's their win is they got up and took a shower,
Yeah.
whether through grief or, their difficult times. So it's being grateful in those, just the everyday life, the little moments, for that. And in doing so, we can really start having that mindset and that life that Jesus talked about, where he said, "I came not to give you life, but give you life abundantly." And that's what we want our listeners to have as they wrap up uh, this podcast session.
So I thought it would be really cool. This is a surprise.
Uh-oh. When I say, "Oh, this is," I have no
Eric
idea what's about to
has
come.
no
I have
clue.
no idea what's about to come my way.
So this is so timely, though. I thought it would be fun just to ask you a couple questions about Thanksgiving.
Jeez, I have no idea what's coming my way.
Do you know who is considered the father of Thanksgiving in the United States?
The father of Thanksgiving?
Hint. He'd be a president that authorized the first national observance of Thanksgiving.
I don't know where the Grand Canyon is, Andy. Now you want to talk about presidents?
Just guess. Take a guess.
Let's go with first Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Lincoln.
Hey, you got it right. I'm shocked.
Wow.
So I want to read to you just a little bit of the proclamation. Now, Lincoln didn't actually write it. William Seward wrote it. Of course, Lincoln signed it.
Sure. I knew that. I knew that too.
Yeah, you knew that, didn't you? What position did Seward hold?
Secretary of State.
Very good. I'm impressed. Okay.
This episode's done.
I have another question for you in just a minute, but I think this is really cool. William Seward wrote this in the proclamation of the first Thanksgiving. He said, "No human counsel hath devised, nor hath any mortal hand worked out these great things." People don't talk like that anymore. I love that. But
I'm having to pay real attention in this. So
you want me to start over?
No, I'm good. I'm holding on.
They are the gracious gifts of the Most High God, who, while dealing with us in anger for our sins, hath nevertheless remembered mercy.
Mercy. Yeah.
Wow.
We don't forget mercy.
Yeah. And I have another one for you. Another interesting factoid about Thanksgiving. And all you listeners will love this. And I know you're going to bomb this because if I didn't know it, There's no way.
Here goes Melon's head again. If he doesn't know it, then nobody knows it. Heaven forbid. Heaven forbid.
So I have another friend. If you ask him if he's seen the movie, he's like, "Ain't nobody ever seen that if he's never seen it before." Like you with the Revenant. But anyway,
that's a made up movie.
Who is since Abraham Lincoln is considered the father of Thanksgiving?
Okay.
Who do you think the mother of Thanksgiving is?
Mother Teresa.
When do you think Mother Teresa lived?
She's still alive. Mother of Thanksgiving.
Yeah. By the way, Mother Teresa is not still alive.
Did she die?
Yes, she's dead.
No.
Yes, she is.
When did she die?
Google it.
She did not.
She's been gone for about 5 or 6 years.
No.
Yes. On to bigger and better things.
So
who is the mother of Thanksgiving? You're not going to guess, so I'll just tell you. Her name is Sarah Josepha Hale.
Hale.
Yeah.
Hale State.
But the interesting factoid about her is she actually wrote the poem Mary Had a Little Lamb.
Ah.
And back in the day.
Learning something new.
Yeah, I know. Back in the day, Thanksgiving was celebrated in different parts of the country at different times. And so she's considered the mother of Thanksgiving. So for decades, she lobbied the federal government to create one day that the whole entire country shared. And eventually Lincoln agreed in the midst of the Civil War in 1863, hey, we're going to do this as a source of bringing unity. And I think that's really cool to think about. And interesting enough, Thomas Jefferson refused to do it because of the overt spiritual aspect of it. But Lincoln agreed to it in order to bring about national unity. And I think that's a beautiful thing.
It is.
When we're thinking about hope.
Yeah.
This sense of gratitude. See, everybody should know I was going somewhere with this, right?
Yeah.
This overwhelming sense of gratitude that we can start with just, hey, God, thank you that I get to wake up this morning. Yeah. I get to have eggs for breakfast. I get a cup of coffee. And Eric says that about 20 times a day.
Yeah. I'm on my 10th cup, maybe.
Yeah. So, whatever the one thing is, and I like what you said earlier. I don't even know if you remember. You said write it down and put it somewhere.
Yeah.
Get you an index card. Write it down. Thankful, whatever that thing is. If you're in that season and you've got to do that.
Yeah.
And this can develop. This can bloom. And this gritty faith that we mentioned earlier is something that God uses to create something beautiful.
Yeah.
And to redeem us and restore us and to prepare us for the next season of life.
That's right. That's right. Well, speaking of the next season of life, this has been a great episode. And
why did you just do air quotes again?
I'm scratching my eyeball. My contact hurts, but really this, we do our typical blessing at the closing, but this one for Thanksgiving, this is one to really hold on to.
Yeah.
Because this is God speaking to us. I don't want people to forget that.
Yeah.
So until next time, may the Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord lift up his face upon you and give you peace.
Amen.
Amen.